Hi. Hello. Ross. Cat. Milk. Don't make me keep loud. Come sit. Sit. Be nice. You come sit. Come here. Now, come here. Okay. Can you sit down and be here? Behave. Sit. 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 No. Sit off. There you go. Sit. Yep. Don't talk. Hi. Hello. Welcome to the Hear Her Hand Knitting Podcast. My name is Jennifer, and I am a deaf knitter, crocheter, sewer, and quilter and sewist. I always do that. And I live here in Baltimore, Maryland with my partner and 2 miniature schnauzers and 2 black cats, one of whom has a lot to say today, so you might hear a lot of right? You have a lot to say? Oh, are you gonna stop performing? Are you done? Okay. I think maybe we're done. We'll find out. So this guy is gonna be joining us for my everything I knit in 2025. Goodness. So today, we're mostly going to start with the things garment knitting. We're not including gift knits except for one because technically I knit it for myself initially, and I'm counting socks as garments because technically you wear them. And so that kind of reduces my year in knitting a little bit. Can you not? Did finish quite a lot actually. So I finished 24 knits, but I would not say that 24 of my knits were successful. Exactly, especially when it comes to garment knitting, which you'll definitely see in my first 2 garments that I'm going to show you. They were not entirely successful, I don't think. I learned a lot, and I think that's kind of necessary. It's only my 3rd full year of knitting, and it's only my 2nd full year of knitting garments, and I definitely had a lot more fails last year than I did this year. So, overall, not terrible. We definitely made a lot of other things that are not garments. So, I did a bunch of test knits. I have a child's sweater, a 3 blankets, a bag, several emotional support chickens, both regular and mini, several cozies, a grid ambit, and a couple of shawls. So, overall, it was a really successful knitting year, but I did not successfully complete or keep a whole lot of garments. So, my garment knitting is going to be more, not exactly short, but more focused, I guess. So, let's start with what did I knit? The first things first, I did talk about, I did talk about this in the previous podcast that I put up. So my earlier podcast was about my bingo and all the things I checked off my bingo list. Can you not? Ow! What shocking. Yeah, you keep zapping me. So one of those things I did talk about on that list was my Salty Days sweater by Kutovakika. So I knit my Salty Days in a size small, which hey, not helpful, thank you. Which was the size, my size as far as the design specs for the pattern, and was also the size that Kika herself was wearing supposedly in the pattern photos. But my finished object just does not look the same on me. so I will put in my B-roll. See some of what it looks like. I will say it was a very fun knit. I am glad I knit it. I learned a lot. I did lace, cables, ribbing. I did a split hem, which is not in the pattern because I did not like the mushroomy look that most people ended up with. And I did sort of resolve that problem, but it was not enough for resolution, like with the overall knitting of the design itself to make the sweater something I feel good wearing. But I knit my Salty Days in Lion Brand LB collection, Superwash Merino, in the color Quail, which is this kind of mid-tone dusty purple, which is a very good soft summer color. So much so that I am using that same yarn to knit a more basic stockinette cardigan. It's something that I can actually wear, unlike my Salty Days. So I don't think the yarn was necessarily the problem. I think there's something about the pattern that just doesn't quite fit my body the way the pattern looks like it fits the designer. And that is, maybe that's my problem. I don't know. Maybe my body is just different. My body is definitely different than it was at the beginning of this year, so who knows? I did knit my Salty Days on a US 10 or a 6mm needle, and looks like this. I will say, like, initially I was very happy with it. It was fun. It just, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with it, and also there's a lot of weird feelings wrapped up in it because I finished it in Houston over the week of my mother-in-law's memorial service. So it may just be that the sweater has bad feelings associated with it, even though it was what I needed at that time. I needed to be doing all that to say, this is my Salty Days sweater. I did complete it. It is beautiful, and I think it would fit some soft summer mall person who wants a sweater that fits like this. I'm not that person. Then my next sweater that I finished was the Kaylunia sweater, which is a colorwork round yoke, very cropped sweater. And I knit this one in basically not scraps, in mini skeins from a yarn swap that I did last Christmas Instagram. So I used mostly blues and purples and white for my color work for this sweater, and then my main color was a couple of skeins of Valley Yarns Superwash DK in the color Steel Gray. So the Valley Yarns, I used 3 balls of the Valley Yarns, and I knit it to the like longer spec on the pattern, but it's still like right at my waist. It's definitely a shorter sweater. And then I think when I finished this, I discovered that I just don't particularly like the fit of a round yoke. It may be this round yoke is not ideal for me, or I'm a very tight color work knitter. I have yet to knit any color work successfully to the point where I feel really happy about it. I have exactly one colorwork hat so far out of like the 4 or 5 that I knit that I can actually wear. So it very easily could be a me problem here. But it was a fun knit, and I enjoyed knitting it specifically. Can you not do that? Hey, 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 no scratching, no scratching, no scratching. If you want to scratch, you can go somewhere else. Huh? You not scratch? Are you done? Are we done? You cannot stand about being the center of attention. Don't you? Yeah. So I knit the Kaylunia mostly because that pattern. Don't scratch my sofa, please. Hey, I need to kick you out. Are you gonna behave? Thank you. Behave. So I knit the Kaylunia. I found it on Yarn Pond, I believe, and I knit that because it was the color work was modeled after a Polish lace design, and I thought that was really interesting as I am half Polish, and one of the things I love the most about living in Baltimore is this city is very cultural or good word, culturally diverse, and also like very old cultural diverse. So like there are a lot of like we have a Polish sector, a Spanish sector, we have a whole community of Italians and Greeks, and like those communities go back like to when the city was beginning to be settled. So it's not just that we have a huge Polish population, that we have a huge Polish population that was originally dock workers who came here to work on the docks and like load ships and later on do canning in the warehouses and things like that. And so it's cool because the whole city has just continued a lot of the local celebrations. Like we have pierogi sales at the church nearby. There's like a Polish celebration day. There's feast days, and it's really fun to learn about all the different cultures and see all the different things, try the different foods. So I enjoyed that, and I wanted to do this because I thought the lace would be really interesting to learn. So it was interesting. It was very pretty. I don't know that round yolks are for me, but it is a cute sweater, and I think if you are the person that likes a round yoke, you will probably enjoy this. So that is my Kaylunia. I did knit that on a US 6, or yes, is that a 6? Yeah, US 8. Sorry, I really need new glasses, or a 5mm needle, and it turned out really cute. The ribbing is just so clean. It worked out very nicely. It's not for me. Okay, so my next project was I did the Palm Springs tank test knit for Knit California, and I did not keep my first one, so I knit the Palm Springs tank in the size 1. I knit it in Valley Yarns Superwash, no, Valley Yarns Huntington in the color Lemongrass, which is like a kind of it's a very like yellowy green, not quite a citrine, more on the green side. So it's very apt to be named lemongrass. So I did knit that. I knit it on a US 4 or a 3.5mm needle. I was really surprised because Leslie and I have pretty close similar gauge. So that was one of the first times I didn't have to change my needle size to gauge. And I used 1.5-ish balls of the Huntington. and it was a very, very pretty pink top. I really enjoyed the edging details. I learned so much about like how to pick up and fold over and stitch down and all those sort of things. And it turned out looking like a very like, I mean, very much like intended. It looked like a store bought tank top sweater, and I liked it, and I would have kept it, except it was a smidge tight across the bust, and that was another me problem. I am definitely a one size, like from in my shoulders, right? So like to here ish. Then when you get to my bust, I could stand to have some bust shaping in that pattern, and I don't believe it does have bust shaping. So I have started trying to knit the second side to see if that will work for me, but I'm already starting to think it's going to be too long in the shoulder. Because again, I'm very, very petite. Kind of I'm this weird in between. But it turned out very cute. I have a picture here. It was just, I felt like it was borderline, the word I want, decent maybe? You could, because across the bust was so tight, you could almost see through it. So I gave it to a friend who was a little bit smaller than me in the bust area, and it fit her perfectly. She was very pleased with it. So next, I had knit the Anacortes Pullover by Meeshy Frazz Knits. I knit the size 2 this time. I used Knitpicks Cotlin in the color Surf, which I had quite a bit left over of. And I used about 8 balls total for my sweater. I knitted on a US 8. Is that an 8? Yep. Nope. US 6. I knit on US 6. So it was a 4mm needle. So the Anacortes is a broken rib stitch with like the cast on for the neck, and then you go into the rib stitch. Is like absolutely perfectly lined up so that everything just sort of like flows into each other, and you can see the rib stitch down the raglan shaping, and there's like a very clear delineation of the rib stitch down the side, and it is like just so precise, right? She did such a great job with that pattern, having all these various ribbings line up so perfectly, and I really enjoyed the broken rib stitch. I love a good like waffle knit style so much, so I had a lot of fun knitting that, and it's like the perfect weight for a pullover to warm up, or basically it's a really nice summer weight sweater, and I'm excited to take it some more for summer. I think it'll be really fun to have it like to wear at the fire, or on the beach, or anything like that. So I'm planning on taking it with me when we travel. But that sweater turned out very cute, and it's because it's the Cotlin. When she wash it, it's just so like it like almost breaks down, right? And it's so soft and just nice, and this really good fleet for like. I personally like my clothing to have a little bit of fleet to it, so I really enjoy it. after that, while I was sick, before I was sick, had I cast that on? Yeah, I cast that on before. So I had cast that on before I started the Anacortes. I had cast on my neighborhood fiber co yarn in Blue Ridge and Valley into the Ombre cardigan by Tanis Fiber Arts. And I knit the Ombre cardigan in size 1. No, size 34, whatever that is. It's not a size 1. So I knit that in a size 34. But I forgot what it was. I knitted in 2.5 skeins of my neighborhood fiber co. DDO sock yarn in the color Blue Ridge and Valley, and then I held that with a strand of Lemongrass Seta Surrey in the color Nougat, and I used 4 skeins of the Nougat to come up with this very dusty, like brown, red, yellow sweater that I absolutely love. I wear this sweater pretty much nonstop. You will have seen it over and over again in my videos because it is perfect. Just simple, throw over stockinette cardigan, but it's a V-neck, which is my favorite kind of cardigan. And it's, I got it to the right length, I got it to the right weight, the sleeves are perfect, just everything about that is dead on. And I finally started at this point making things that I really, really like. And I mean, right, we all have to start somewhere and we all have to learn somehow. So it just took me that long to finally figure out what I needed to make a sweater that suited me, that was the right color and weight and fabric and length and sleeve length and so on and so forth. So it is absolutely perfect and I love it so much. I did knit my neighborhood fiber co sweater on a USA, which is a 5mm needle, and it took me from like the beginning of March to the middle of June. It was quite a ways to knit. Alright, so after my Blue Ridge and Valley, somehow I missed the best and most important sweater I knit this year. So my first ever test for the Quail, I knit the Quail cardigan by Rebecca Clow in size 1. I knit it in patent North American classic wool worsted in the color seafoam, and I used 7 skeins of yarn on a US 8 or a 5mm needle. I have 2 pairs of socks I have here that I'm going to show you because I'm not going to put these for the YouTubes. So my first one was these, and I will put up a picture of these on my sock blockers. That these are my hibernal socks by Summer Lee. I knit these at a 56 stitch gauge. I used patent North American Croy socks in the color plum. And I knit them on a US 1 or 2.25mm needle. So these are shorties. I tend to wear a 5.5 shoe, which is part of why these are shorties. And the other reason why these are shorties is because I'm so small. But I really like these. I have been pleasantly surprised by how well they wear. Like, definitely some fluff going on there, but no, they're doing really good. I finished these in at the end of June, and I have worn these quite a bit once I finally blocked them, and I don't think you can tell. Not even like the heel. Look at that bed. Tiny bit of fluff, maybe. Really not bad. I love this pattern so much that I am currently working on another pair. But those are my hibernal socks based on these in my patents. North American sock yarn. So next I need a pair of socks along with knitting Natty's 11 stitches like sock week knit along. So that knit along was I believe in August, and I did knit these in it was just over a week. I did have a really hard time getting them off the second time I wore them because I bound them off too tight. But these are my Ravelry socks. So they're a broken rib stitch sock that I sort of like self-drafted. And the Ravelry socks I knit in So Happy Jane's Joyful Fingering and Huckleberry Sunday, which was a sock yarn that was like they were a porter or basically So Happy Jane made this sock yarn specifically for the 11 stitches knit along. So I bought this to go along with that, and they're some of my favorite color, which I don't know if you can tell, but I like purple. But yeah, so these are really pretty. I really enjoyed the broken rib, and I am probably going to knit another pair of broken rib stitch socks at some point, but it's gonna be a while. So those are my So Happy Jane socks. Oh, the So Happy Jane socks, I did knit those in a 60 stitch gauge, and they still ended up a smidge tight. So that's a news. I don't really know what happened there, but I knit them on a US1, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle. And then my final garment is a shawl garment. We'll call it a garment. I've been wearing this one a lot. My final garment is my One Love Mystery Shawl by Kutovakika. So I knit two of these shawls. The one I kept for myself is my Cheddar Jewel Spun in the color Northern Lights, and here's some people. So I knit that one on a USA or a 5 millimeter needle, and because my jewel spun was such a gigantic ball, when I got to the end of the pattern, it says you can continue knitting like the garter or the waist. And so I knit a certain amount of garter, and then I did the waist. I did a whole round of waist before I did the bind off, so it looks sort of Dottery. It's not pico. I did not do the pico edge, which is one of the things this pattern does have. I tried it in this, but the serdar is, I think it's a worsted weight, and so it's a heavier gauge than the pattern calls for, and it just looked weird like that. So I ended up pulling that out and just doing a standard, the standard bind off on this one. So it's a little tight, but I honestly think that that last like round of the lace really makes this shawl pop, right? I think normally I'm not one for a garter shawl. Not really my thing. But this one turned out very pretty. And I topped it because it's worsted weight, it's very warm, and so I wear it quite a lot actually. And it ended up being really, really beneficial for me. So that is all I have for garments for you. I had a pretty big year of knitting, but I just did not get as many garments, and I'm not sure why. But I will put a wheel at the end, like a slideshow at the end. You can see all the projects I knit. But I did knit 24 things, so I knit like everything from shawls to chickens to blankets to stockings to socks to hats. Really, I had a very productive year. I just did not knit as many garments as I wish I had, but it did literally take me half of the year to get my finally get my garment needs dialed in to the point where I have 3 garments that I'm very happy with and 2 garments that I'm like about. So, if you had a productive knitting year in 2025, or whatever year it is that you're watching this, I would love to hear what your favorite knitting pattern was, particularly what your favorite sweater pattern was. I'm a cardigan girly, so if you have a cardigan for me, I would love to hear all about it. I have a whole list of things I'm gonna knit for this winter, and I have a couple of them already cast on. So in a couple more days, or at least another week, yeah, in another week, I plan on putting up my winter knitting plans video. So if you are interested in what I'm planning on knitting and maybe actually succeeding in making a couple more sweaters that I love, come back for that and check it out. And I would love to hear from you. And also, if you haven't followed me or subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it so much, because subscribing really does a lot for little channels like this, and it helps us to reach a larger audience. And honestly, I'm here for the community. I want to find my fellow knitters who are like learning what they like in a garment, right? And like what it is about that sweater that just doesn't quite suit them, or what it is about this other sweater that makes them happy that they want to wear it 24/7, right? So I would love, love, love if you would follow me, and I'd love to hear, or I'd love to chat with you in the comments and catch up with you again in a week. So that's all for now, folks. Happy knitting. Bye.